Hey everybody, welcome to Heal Ho Call. Today's guest is Nakeia Burrell, who has spent 2 decades leading in accounting, finance, executive leadership, entrepreneurship, and real estate, serving in executive roles where helping organizations and families make life-changing financial decisions. Yet through every promotion, opportunity, and challenge, one question remains: can you truly succeed without compromising your faith? In this episode, Nakeia shares how the life of Daniel became a blueprint for leading with integrity, trusting God's timing, and discovering that influence isn't built through compromise, but through faithfulness. Whether you're a professional, entrepreneur, or executive, simply navigating your next season of calling, this conversation will encourage you to pursue excellence while remaining anchored in Christ. So, hello.
Hi, Wendy. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this conversation because it's interesting how even when compromising your faith, it even comes. I'm going to just jump in here. It's not even a part of the agenda. When it comes to even to marketing, people will manipulate numbers or fluff them, or they'll say they have all this success when in reality, it's like people are like, well, I have 5 million. That's great. What's your profit? Negative 2 million.
Yeah.
You're not successful, you're losing. But doesn't mean they're a failure. It just means that they're using, I just feel like I don't like it when professionals, and that's one of my biggest pet peeves, is they manipulate numbers in order to seem like they're doing better than they are to increase sales. Because some businesses are, that's how they grow, is by sharing their numbers. And it's like, I don't know. But anyway, I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Yes.
So, when you look back on your journey, what experiences most shaped your understanding that faith wasn't something to leave at the church door, but something God wanted you to use in every area of your life?
Yeah. Wow. That's a great question. I really think, I don't know if that was necessarily one pivotal moment. I think it was more of a culmination of life in general. And, I believe we're all shaped by our life experiences, and you can use those life experiences to either change or continue the trajectory of where you want to go in life, And so thankfully I was blessed to grow up in a household anchored in faith. And so, that was a product of my growing up. So I will say that has been a blessing. And so as I navigated and got into adulthood and, finding myself in corporate settings and boardrooms and having to make hiring decisions and dealing with strategy and operations and, all the things that come in the quote unquote corporate world, you see things, you hear conversations, you're part of meetings that sometimes are complicated and can have a lot of different challenges that come with them. And so, I just always try to remain that no matter, what I'm tasked to do in the workspace, I'm going to do that to the best that I can with the best of my ability. But I'm also not going to not use that as an opportunity to treat people the way I want to be treated, even in those difficult circumstances sometimes, and I'll say too, thankfully I've been blessed that, it's life, it's business. Sometimes things aren't going to always go as we would desire them to, but I have been fortunate to be, around a lot of good people throughout my career, even in those moments where, it could get a little dicey. But I just think that, your faith, to me, it's not, like you said in the introduction, you're not just leaving it at the church door. It's a part of who I am. And so it's not something that I pick and choose when to use it. Like, I don't know how to operate without it. So.
Right. Well, and I love how Daniel is essential to your message. Yeah. What is it about his story that continues to challenge and encourage you personally?
Yeah. So, ironically, when I wrote my book, I didn't necessarily realize that I had the outline for it years and years ago. I just didn't necessarily know that until I actually started the process of the book. But because Daniel was always one of my favorite books to go to in the Bible, because I started my leadership journey pretty young. I think I was 25 when I first got my first leadership role in accounting. And so, like Daniel, he was a young leader, and so I found that like that was always one of my go-tos for like leadership for like in my own personal, when I would be going through different things, sometimes leading people who were twice my age or older. And so I always just found it, he talked about, some of the challenges, his colleagues, his superiors, the folks that he was tasked with leading. And so I just always found that connection with him. And honestly, it always gave me comfort whenever I needed it. And I always walked away after reading it like, okay, here we go. I've gotten my mojo back, I know what to do, or I know I'll be okay in whatever situation we're having to deal with.
Yeah, that's awesome. And yeah, I'm trying to. It's funny how you said it's your go-to book. My go-to for leadership is Joseph.
Okay, yeah.
My
mother has always she's always gone to Joseph, like when we talk about different things, and then her work and things. So yeah.
I think it's really good. I might have to go back through and read because I haven't really dove into it. It's not like I can't say I haven't read it. I know the story, but like when we look at stuff with fresh eyes and new perspective, we see things that we didn't see before. So I'll have to definitely take some time and go through that.
Yeah. I'll do the same and I need to probably do a dive on Joseph because like you said, it's not that you haven't read it, but it's, we're all kind of go to our pacifier, and so,
and and the whole, it's like, I guess I just really love how, all the different things that he had been through and all the trials, God used every single one of those trials for his need to lead Egypt through with his ability to determine dreams and understand what's going on, that gifting. And then understand, okay, so then what do we do with it? So it wasn't like he just like, yeah, this dream. And then it's like, go away, Pharaoh. He very much was then asked to steward this to get ready for the feast and save it. And then for the famine, which is, kind of similar to what you do with people when it comes to financial planning and stuff like that.
Right.
Because, you save so that way when something happens, you don't have to freak out. It's there.
Exactly. And you've had, hopefully, things happen. We know that things can come up that were unanticipated, weren't anticipated and unforeseen, but hopefully you have set up some things to where in place, in business, in practice, in operations that, we've got some contingency plans. We've got some things set up for when there's a major expense that we didn't know we were going to have. Hopefully we've got a plan for that. Or if we have a changing staffing, hopefully we've got a plan for that. I'm not saying that the plan is going to always go as we hope, but hopefully we're not like a deer in headlights when something comes up, hopefully, and we know how to pivot when we need to. So you're right.
Yeah, absolutely. So many professionals feel pressure to compromise their values to advance their careers. What do you think is the biggest misconception people believe about success and faith?
Yeah, I think I'm going to probably sound a little on repeat here. I think a misconception is where you think it's something that it's you take off your belt at the end of the day kind of thing, and you put it on when you need it, you take it off when you don't. And I think that's a misconception, but to me, when you're rooted and grounded in faith, you don't take it off. Like it's in you, and and it doesn't change how you're going to, not be successful or be successful. I don't think it's just the fact that that's a part of who you are, and it's a part of how you are successful in what you do. I don't think it's something that, you just decide whimsically one way or the other. Oh, I don't need my faith today, or so I'm not going to use it at work, or, oh, I need my faith today because I've got a big meeting or a big presentation. Now, grant you, some days you, in some moments and situations, you may need to rely on it a little bit more, depending on what's at hand. You're like, oh Lord, this is going to be a doozy. I need your help. But to me, in my experience, and what has helped and what helps me is it's just who I am. And I think another misconception is it's something that you always have to go around talking about and showing to people. A lot of times, people or that's kind of a viewpoint, but to me, it's evident in just your daily walk. How do you treat people? How are you respectful to people? Do you treat people the way you'd want to be treated? Are you considering other people's needs and their feelings and what their situation may look like? So I don't think it's this big formal thing that sometimes gets viewed, but it's really just who people are, if that's a part of their life.
Right. Well, it's interesting because some people, like I've met, that they just keep it all very separate. Their faith life and their work life very separate. And they're like, well, I just don't want to lose any clients, because I happen to say, well, the thing is that, I just, because I've very much led my life very faith forward, Jesus forward, all of the things. And I know I'm using buzzwords of current modern day, but it's true because most people know where I stand on everything. And it's not because I want them to match their faith with mine, or if they choose not to believe that they have to believe to work with me. That's not it at all.
No.
It's just, I'll offer to pray for people, or I will, it's not about throwing faith or condemnation or any of that in anybody's face. It's about making sure, it's not making sure anything. It's just me.
It's just who you are.
All right. And so we're like, wow, it's just good. It's amazing how you just lead with your faith and you don't, because somebody's going to be offended by it. I don't want to work with them anyway, because then that can't be me in our conversations when we're doing business.
Well, and it's, and you can take that in so many ways. Like if you are, someone who is an avid reader, or someone who's a avid runner or athlete or whatever, we all have our things, and that's just a part of who they are, their attributes. But it's not necessarily like, okay, you're going to talk to everyone that you, as a colleague that you do business with, you're not going to always talk about reading and running. I'm not saying it's not going to come up and you're not going to no longer be an athlete or an avid reader. It's just, again, it's a part of who you are. And so I think, to your point, to your original question, I think that's the misconception, in my opinion, is that it's like you pick and choose or you whatever. It doesn't have to be like in bullseye or whatever, like in neon print that, hey, I'm a runner, I'm a reader, or, I'm a faithful person. It's going to show just in who you are as a person, right, and your daily dealings.
And what's nice too is that it doesn't mean that you have to show up perfect all the time. And I think some people are just like, well, I don't want people know because they, all of a sudden my life becomes glass. And it's like, but there's ways that you can handle when you show up imperfect. Be like, hey, look, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have acted like that. It's not in character with me. This is what's going on in my life. Not that you're making excuses, but people like to know that even people of the Christian faith are human and they make mistakes all the time.
Oh, every day, all day. I don't know how many I've made today already. Listen.
That's so funny. So through your work as a CPA, executive leader, realtor, author, mentor, all the things, what transformation do you hope people experience after encountering your message?
Yeah, honestly, what I hope, and it's been something that I don't know if it happened organically or what, but one of the things that of late that I think is more important is just knowing knowing who you are in Christ, being your authentic self, in the business world, and all the areas that I'm involved in, whether it's in the accounting world or in real estate, there's, technology and marketing and all things are, those are great things that we have to use. And, they're critical and they're important for us to use them. And we need to use them. I just think that sometimes we're kind of in a space now where with social media and some of the digital things that it's easy for people to, to think, oh, well, I need to pattern my business like them, or I need to do this, and there's nothing wrong with inspiration and, learning from others, getting best practices from others and, doing that. But don't lose who you are. Don't lose focusing on the gifts that God has given you. I think that's the one thing that I'm encountering more, and that I see that is becoming a struggle for people. And so that would be the thing that I say is He's given us all gifts. And the world needs you to be your authentic, great self, not to become a carbon copy of someone else, and because He's created us all to be a masterpiece. And so I think that's the thing that I have been encountering more of late.
That's awesome. So if leaders everywhere truly embrace leading with faith and integrity, how would businesses, communities, and families be different?
Oh, wow. Excellent question. I think what would be different is probably relationships, because I think you would have a more level of, I won't say that empathy doesn't happen, but I think you would see people being a little more open to having discussion to see where their counterpart may be coming from. You may or may not agree. You may or may not decide to collaborate. You may or may not decide to move forward, and that's okay. But, I'm always reminded of, Jesus at the well. It's okay to meet people where they are. They may or may not be where you're gonna sing kumbaya and go be business buddies and BFFs. It may or may not happen, but I think it's important to meet people where they are and to see people as people. Because again, it may not work out. That's okay. But I think you would see more of a healthier culture of people just remembering. At the end of the day, we're all people. We've all got goals. We've all got personal things and people that we love and care about and that we're trying to provide for. And, let's just give each other, as I like to say, professional grace.
All right. Oh, that's good. So for someone listening today who feels afraid about following God wholeheartedly, might cost them their career or opportunities they've worked hard to build, what encouragement would you leave them with?
That's a good one. I would say that He who has started a work in you is able and just to fulfill it. And so we may not know now. A lot of times we don't know. But just know that if there's something that you've got on your heart, something that you're determined to do, don't give up. Persevere. I don't know when it's going to happen. I don't know how it's going to happen and what it's going to look like when it happens. None of us do. We don't have a crystal ball, but just hang in there and literally keep the faith. I know that's easier said than done, but if it's truly a conviction that you have from God, it will happen. So don't give up.
Yeah, that's good. So I know that you have a book. Do you have it right there by you?
Oh, yeah, I'm at my desk, so I do have it. I hope you can see it. It's Leading with Faith, Unveiling Daniel's Path to Success and Everlasting Impact. So it's on Amazon, and I will say it's consistently ranked in multiple categories. So I'm just extremely thankful for that. I think this week it ebbs and flows, but I think this week it was in the top 20 in a couple of categories, career and personal development and leadership, religious ethics, and Christian leadership, I believe. I think that's what it was this week.
That's really cool. So what is the best way for anyone to be able to connect with you before we say goodbye?
Okay. Well, you can find me, my website with my book and future things is NakeiaBurrell.com. If you're in real estate, whether, it's Nakeia Burrell.exprealty.com. I'm with eXp Realty and for real estate things. And so, yeah, you can also find me on Facebook, Nakeia Burrell Realtor or Nakeia Burrell Author, and Instagram, it's Nakeia.TexasRealEstate.
Yeah. So anyone who does live you serve the Houston area, is that right?
Actually, it's Tyler. It's the greater Tyler area. So we're kind of in the northeast part of the state.
Oh,
And so, yeah. But I do have, the great thing about where I'm at in real estate is we have colleagues all over the globe, literally. So, I can always phone a friend if you're not in my area. So,
yeah. So anyone who's looking for property or a place to live, definitely reach out to her. So, well, Nakeia, thank you so much for reminding us that faithfulness is never a limitation. It is the foundation for a lasting influence. Your story is a beautiful reminder that God can use our careers, leadership, businesses, and everyday decisions as places of ministry when we're willing to trust Him above all else. Thank you for sharing your heart so openly. And we encourage you, our listeners, to connect with Nakeia, explore her book, Leading with Faith, Unveiling Daniel's Path to Success and Everlasting Impact, and then continue to unique calling of God has placed on your own lives. So thank you again. Until next time.
thank you, Wendy. It was a joy being with you. I love speaking with you.
Thanks.